Here we have replicas of Christopher Columbus's ships, the Nina and the Pinta, the most accurate traveling replicas in the world. And both ships were constructed down in Brazil without the use of electricity. And the Nina was constructed first. It took 20 men, 32 months to build down in Valença, Brazil by 8th generation Portuguese shipwrights.
So this is very similar to how the originals were built then.
Nina is an exact size, 65 feet long, 18 feet wide, sitting 7 feet in the water, and she is pretty much an exact size of what Christopher Columbus has used over 520 years ago. Well, back in Columbus's day, the majority of people thought the world was flat. They're going to fall off the edge of the earth, going out into the sea of darkness. But Columbus and the educated people in that time knew that wasn't the case. The world was actually round. So he went out with 20 to 30 men, average age about 18 years old, and they all slept on the deck. Worked 8 and slept on the deck with all their supplies and their livestock down below. So they were going out for years at a time, and Columbus made 4 voyages totaling 12 years.
So if it was raining out, they got rained on?
They got rained on, yeah. Unfortunately for Columbus, he ended up doing all his exploration around the Caribbean islands in Central America. So the weather is nice, obviously not in the summertime when you get hurricane season coming.
But starting out, it would have been so nice.
We're going across the Atlantic. He left in August 3rd, 1492 from Spain. So we're going across the Atlantic. That's a good time to go, unless of course you got a hurricane.
Compare these. You've been on other boats, I'm sure, as far as sailing and stuff. How do these differ?
Well, these ships don't really have much of a keel, so basically very little stability. So when you're out in the open water, these ships will tend to bob like a cork in rough seas, whereas more modern boats will be able to cut through the waves a lot better. These ships do a lot of pitching.
So if you get seasickness, this may not be the boat to go on.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. This is like the worst case scenario for a person that gets seasick.
So how many men would be on each of these boats?
Back in the day, anywhere from 20 to 30 men. Average age about 18. Youngest crew member on board being only 8 years old. Today we travel with a crew of 14.
And is that, I take it you don't sleep on the deck, or do you?
We don't sleep on the deck. All crew, we all have our own berths down below. Because down below is where the cargo would have been back in the day. Mm-hmm. So all crew had to be able to respond to emergencies. So that's why one reason they're all up on the deck. But we sleep down below today where the livestock would have been.
So you have a crew of 14 on each boat, or
total?
Total, okay. So do you call that swabbing the deck here, or do you just call it washing the floor? Scrubbing?
Let's swab on the deck.
Is this something that when you were growing up you wanted to do?
Always.
Aspired to. What else do you do here?
Pretty much just a deckhand. We hoist lines and lower the sail. Pretty much steer the ship. Just the fun gist of it.
Whatever needs to be done?
Yes, pretty much,
yeah. How long have you been doing it?
I've been doing this for 4 months.
You just want to try a little traveling, and or are you always interested in ships, history?
Yeah.
Running from the law?
No running from the law. I just needed to get away and travel while I was still young and enjoy the sights, and I've been doing so.
I've been on board. It's my 8th year.
And you just stop at different places and educate the public?
Exactly, yeah. We traveled about 30-40 different ports of call a year. Gulf Coast, East Coast, Great Lakes tour, and then down through the Midwestern river systems. We travel port to port and display our ships, and that were used during the Age of Discovery.
What kind of questions do you get? Unusual questions?
Well, not so much unusual, but the most common, I'd say, the size. People are expecting ships to be a lot bigger, but these ships are big for the 1400s. And obviously, the most obvious question is, where's the Santa Maria? Both of these ships.
I think that was the word of the day.
Both of these ships are what are known as Portuguese caravels. These are typical trading vessels in the Mediterranean, an African coast before Columbus used them, where the Santa Maria was more of a cargo ship. And the biggest difference being is that she would require close to 14 feet of water to travel around. These ships only need 7 feet. So a lot of places you want to travel, she simply wouldn't be able to make the voyage.
I put 20 years in the Navy. I was on 8 different ships. I've been around the world twice. Caribbean, Atlantic, Pacific, China Sea, Caribbean, Mediterranean.
So you spent a lot of time on ships,
Yeah, a lot of time.
but this one's a little small for your taste.
I was on a tugboat bigger than that.
Yeah, well, Columbus, he went through hurricanes in these ships. These ships, the Nina's been through, 90-mile-an-hour gale force winds, out in the Pacific Ocean. And so these ships are very sturdy.
I was going to ask, do they take much maintenance?
Oh yeah, nonstop.
Really?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
what? Like, give me examples.
Well, we take them out of the water each year. Always putting coats of stain. You're always replacing the rigging. Cleaning the sails. There's always work to do on board ships.
What is the average crew member do on ship?
Well, underway, the general maintenance. You're helping steering the ship. Working with the rigging, the sails. While you're at port, you're dealing with your tour guide. You're dealing with people's safety. So people wear many hats.
The public can visit these and talk to all the crew members. That's their job while they're here, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. But both ships will be set up like floating museums. People come on down. Adults are $8. Children are $6. You buy your tickets at our blue tent right next to the ships, and you get to go aboard the 2 ships which are set up like floating museums. And there's a crew aboard to answer questions and share their own real-life experiences about living on board these ships.
And what are the hours?
9 to 6 each day, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday from 9 to 6. You can come on down and get on board the ships.
So what do you do here? Everything everybody else does?
Yeah, a deckhand. A deckhand will be steering the ship, working with the rigging, and giving tours to the public when we're in port, and just cleaning like this.
What about when you give a tour, like little kids and stuff? What kind of questions do they ask?
Oh man, all sorts of stuff. You could get, the most common question that we get is, where's the Santa Maria?
Right.
The biggest of the 3 ships. You'll have, kids ask, why are the ships black? What kind of animals do they have down below? And then you'll get kids that'll shout out, there's alligators down below, there's fish.
Is this the size that the ships were? I mean,
yes, Nina, yeah, she's 1-to-1 actual size.
Wow, so that's not a whole lot of room here. If they had animals down here or cargo or anything.
No, not at all. And in fact, down below is just for storage. So instead of seeing bunks down, you'd just be an empty hull with big barrels stacked up high on the sides, and then livestock. So there's no room down below to sleep.
Right.
All of your men were actually out there on the deck sleeping. And if you were lucky, you'd come up some line to sleep on. But this would be a very crowded space, and it was the job of a young cabin boy to go down below and clean up after all the animals, and to bucket out the bilge water and fetch anything that the crew wanted, because he was small enough to go down here and fit around all
fit around all the...
Yeah, because this would, there would be less space to walk around back then than we do now. So.
Right.
And your larger animals would be suspended from down below, so if you look there, just, imagine that there's, a small cow hanging from the railings or the deck beams over here, or a goat.
So they were dead, I hope.
No.
No? They hung them there alive?
Yep. So that when the ship rocked, they didn't break their legs, so they could sway back and forth. If you had a large cow that broke their leg, it would be useless.
Right.
You got back.
So they didn't have PETA back then.
No. PETA or child labor laws. I've been doing this since last August, so about 10 months now.
So where'd you get the idea of doing this?
One day I went with my best friend to go to the park by our house, and all of a sudden there's 2 pirate ships docked there, so we had to go check them out. And within the first 10 minutes of seeing the ships and reading the crew wanted sign, I had decided that I wanted to take off the ships. So I applied, and they let me on board.
And then you like it?
Yeah, absolutely. I committed to a month, and I've been here 10.
Oh, so you must like it.
Yeah. It's a great way to travel and meet new people. I'll have stories here that'll last me a lifetime. So
Right.
I'll never forget this. This is been one of the most significant things that's happened to me, in my life.